Today I want to look at what some of the things that we can do to eat healthy on a budget. To start with, it's important to plan our meals before we go shopping so that we don't over-purchase or buy things that we don't actually want. So we need to check the fridge and the cupboards before we go shopping to see what still needs using up, because as a nation we discard up to 40% of our food, which is awful to think about. So make a list and stick to that list. Don't shop when you're hungry unless you're going to stick to your list, because otherwise you'll impulse buy. Of course, if there's a good sale on something that you want to stock up on, then grab that. And you might also change your planned menu when you do that. Cooking at home rather than eating out will save at least half the price, maybe more. When you cook large amounts so that you can keep them for leftovers or even freeze them for later. Now, think about buying whole foods rather than processed ones. And even this lettuce that's been washed and chopped is a processed food. For example, I paid $3 for this lettuce, which when you get it out of the bag is a little bit brown on the edges. It's still crisp, but it doesn't look half as good as this lettuce. I got 3 whole lettuces for $2. So think about doing that instead. And I know it's a little bit more work to wash it and chop it, but it's going to be cheaper, last longer, and be more tasty and nutritious at the end of the day. If you're buying brown rice or brown pasta, that's going to be more filling than white, so you won't use as much of it for each of your meals. If you're buying beans, for example, buy generic brands of your different items. Now, junk foods like cookies and sodas are very expensive, so consider dropping them completely from the menu. That way you'll be saving money and saving your health. And if you want something sweet, you might have a rule that says you have to make it yourself. You are allowed those sweet things. What that will do is cut down, hopefully, on the frequency, but also on the price of those sweet treats. Now, if you do eat meat, consider replacing your meat with legumes, because they're a lot cheaper. And if you use your beans not out of a can but even from dry, then you'll really cut the price. And that you can even put lentils, brown lentils or black beans in with your meat, and that will make it go further without really changing the flavour, but certainly taking it up a notch in terms of health. Now, choose produce that's in season, because it won't have been transported as far, and so the cost will be less. That will save your pocket but also save the planet. And if you want something that's out of season, consider buying frozen. It's still nutritious and it's cheaper than fresh. Think about buying in bulk. You can form a food co-op. I have a food co-op in my community that I'm part of, and we buy in bulk. We can either split what we buy between us, or we can store it, and it's so much cheaper. You can do that with whole grains. They'll keep for years. Grow your own produce. Herbs, for example, can grow on your kitchen countertop, but you can grow sprouts. In the summer you can do tomatoes, cucumber, green onions, summer squash, even green beans. It's fun, cost effective, good for the planet, and if you don't have the garden space, you can even grow those things as container plants. For lunch, consider buying a lunchbox and packing your lunch every day instead of buying it. Again, it will halve or quarter the price of it. And then think about adjusting your taste buds so that you can enjoy less expensive foods. So instead of these pistachios, for example, you might instead switch to peanuts. Or if you're buying macadamias, which are really expensive, or pine nuts, you might switch to sunflower seeds. Sometimes it's cheaper to buy the same foods online. Now, if you have a farmer's market in your neighbourhood, or even a pick your own, then you can go and pick your own produce, or go to the farmer's market at the end of the day and you can get more food for the same price. Another way that I like to shop is at ethnic markets. Now, you might not be able to read the label, but if you look closely, you'll usually find an English list of ingredients, and then you'll know what you're actually buying. And it's often cheaper and you have more variety. So think about those things and ways that you can shop cheaper.